Eric Liddell was the 100-metre men's sprint champion in England in the 1920s, and that made him a likely contender to win the gold medal at the Paris 1924 Olympics. But when he got to the Olympics, he discovered that the heats for the 100 metres men's race were to be held on a Sunday. And as a devout Christian, Eric Liddell said, "I can't run on a Sunday." He said, "Sunday, it is the Lord's day, a day of rest, the Sabbath, a day for worship and family, not a day for work or competition." So he pulled out of the 100-metre men's race. Imagine doing that. Imagine having faith strong enough to say that you would be willing to give up the likely possibility of winning a gold medal. He did that. But imagine too the friction that must have caused Liddell with his teammates, with his coaches and trainers and the head of mission to say, "No, I'm not going to put myself in the place where I am likely to win a gold medal for our country." Imagine that conflict. I think Eric Liddell is a great example then of what Jesus speaks about in the gospel today, where Jesus says, "I've come not to bring peace, but to bring division." Now that sounds so unlike Jesus, doesn't it? Jesus so often speaks of peace. He says, "Peace I give you, peace I bequeath you. A peace the world cannot give is my gift to you." And that's much more in keeping with everything else Jesus says of himself and of the Father. But here Jesus is saying, "I come to bring division." What's going on there? Well, I think Jesus doesn't desire there to be division, but he knows this is the inevitable consequence of the choice to follow him, of the unrelenting demands of the gospel. That when some people will choose to follow Jesus and others don't, it may bring us into conflict with other people. It may divide us from them. And it should. We should accept that this is part of the price of following Jesus, that we won't always be able to agree with everyone around us. If we do agree with everyone around us all the time, we're missing something, because the gospel does make bigger claims on our lives and our faith. So I wonder for you, can you think of times when your faith in Jesus and the values that come from that have put you in conflict with others? Maybe as an employee, you've been asked to do something unethical by an employer, and you have to say, "I can't do that. I won't do that." Maybe you've even lost your job over it. Sometimes I say to children, when your friends ask you to do something which you know is wrong, you have to say, "No, I'm not doing that." To stand up even to your friends. That's part of us learning to follow the example of Jesus and what he asks us to do in our lives. I'm trying to think for myself, a small example is I recently went on holidays up north of Cairns to a small town there. And it was a lovely week in the sunshine, but I had to come back a day early so I could be back on the weekend, be back on Sunday to celebrate Mass. Now that was not so much a priest thing that I must say Mass, it was for me a Christian thing of I want to celebrate, I want to go to Mass somewhere, and there's no Mass in this small town, so I might as well come back and be at Mass in my own parish community rather than just finding some random town to go to Mass in. I think a small thing, but for me that was making my holiday choices, not trying to milk the whole week off for all it's worth, saying no, I can give up a bit of my holiday time to make sure I come back and worship. Just a very small thing, but that's my example right now. We might find that often our Christian values, what we say are Christian values, often end up being very much aligned with other people of goodwill and other people of faith. And that's quite okay. They often are very well aligned. But sometimes our Catholic Christian values will be different to others. That's particularly true, I think, for us as Catholics with our understanding of life beginning in the womb and of life being precious until natural death. And that's something which is quite at odds with many people's view of life these days. And many other things too we may find bring us in conflict with others. And that's when we have to stand strong and say, I choose Jesus, I choose my values in him, even if others around me don't agree. Then we may well be divided, as Jesus says, father from son, mother from daughter, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. This is what may well happen when we take our faith in Jesus seriously. Hopefully it doesn't happen all the time, but there will be some times when it does, and then it will matter what we choose. Well, Eric Liddell didn't run the 100 metres race, but he decided instead he'd run the 400 metres. And we know that's a very different skill set to run 100 or 400 metres. It was not his best event, not a race he'd ever won before, but he decided he would do that anyway to give himself a chance to at least contribute to the team. And as he was getting ready, one of the trainers or one of the masseuses gave him a little piece of paper on which was written a Bible verse from, I think, the book of 2 Samuel that says, "Thus says the Lord, those who honour me, I will honour them." And Liddell took that to heart and thought, yes, Lord, I'm trying to honour you with what I do here. And he ran hard, and he ran so well that he won. He won the gold medal in the 400 metres. In fact, he even broke the world record. On the way back home, he was saying to reporters, "It's very pleasing to bring back a gold medal for my country." He said, "But there is a race we are all running which is far more important than any race that has been run in Paris." He said, "That's the race in which God is the one who gives out the medals in the end."